Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Climesha McDaniel. Today we're going to be talking about an organization that is dedicated to the enrichment of African American students. Joining me today are Desirade Duncan. Desirade is a high school student who serves as a youth organizer for the Village Nation here in Los Angeles. We also have Rodger Dickerson. Rodger runs an organization called Lifeline, and that's the parent organization to the Village Nation. And last but not least, we have Fluker. Fluke is the co-founder of the Village Nation. Fluke, how would you briefly describe the Village Nation?
Well, the Village Nation is a support organization that's on campuses on different school sites, and we're there to support the African American students, and our primary objective is to get them to make better choices.
And what convinced you that the group like the Village Nation would be necessary?
Well, I think statistics convinced all of us of that. African American kids are not doing well in the public school systems. They are and their incarceration rate is high. The teen pregnancy is high. The dropout rate is high. So obviously there needs to be some type of intervention for our children. And so we took it upon ourselves, myself and some of the other faculty and staff at Cleveland High School, Bill Payton and R.J. Chevalier, to be specific to gather our kids together and to speak to them and breathe life into them because they've been submerged in this sea of negativity.
Can you tell me about your life as a youth and your connection to these young men?
Sure. For many of the kids, I see myself reflected in their lives. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I was running the streets of Brooklyn in the projects, doing knucklehead things, not making the best decisions, not making the best choices. And through a series of events, I ended up leaving high school and going in the Marines. And there I discovered some things about myself and got more focused, and then went on to college. And so I see, when I see some of these troubled kids, I see myself, and I see myself making the same mistakes as they do.
Why is there a need to incorporate African American culture?
Because it's not there. It's absent from the curriculum. For many of these African American kids, they do not know who they are. There's been a disconnect between them and their legacy and their history. So one of the things the Village Nation tries to do is reconnect them to their history and to their legacy and remind them of the greatness that lurks within inside themselves.
And why were African Americans selected to be a part of this organization?
Well, that's who we focus on as African American kids. However, we're not exclusive. We have other events that involve our Latino brothers and sisters and other events that involve all kids of all races. But the main focus most certainly is our African American kids. I think that they are the kids that have been breathing the most toxic air that there is in the society that they've grown up in. And the results is evidence, as I stated earlier, with the high incarceration rates, with the dropout rates, with the teen pregnancy rates, with all that. They lead every category in a negative type of way that there is. And so to help pull them out of that negativity, we decided to come up with this group, with this organization, and to remind them of some things and reconnect them to who they truly are.
And how is the African proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child," symbolic to the organization?
Well, that proverb has been around forever, and it's most certainly true in this case. However, it took the cries of kids to raise the village to do what it was supposed to do in the first place, and that is to be a support mechanism for our children and to be role models and mentors for our children. So, it most certainly takes more than one person to raise a kid. It takes a collective effort, and that's what we have going on in the Village Nation.
How did students, teachers, and parents react when they first learned of the Village Nation?
It was interesting. They were intrigued. A lot of parents were happy. Other parents were curious. Why are you having these meetings, and why are they specifically, race orientated? And I would understand that if my child came home, all of a sudden they were pulled out of class based on the color of their skin, I would have some questions. Segregation has not been something that has served us well in the past. But in this case, these kids are brought into an atmosphere of love, an atmosphere that's safe for them to speak about very candidly some of the problems and some of the concerns and some of the challenges that they face. And so we provide them a safe place to express themselves, to raise their consciousness, and it's a healthy atmosphere. And once parents recognize that and realize that, and then the test scores jump up like they do, and the other byproducts begin to sprout up, the parents are very supportive.
Rodger, what was your initial reaction?
I thought it was excellent because, as Fluke said, our young African-American kids have no knowledge of their history. And part of the assemblies and things that the village does is let our youth know about history. You know, when it comes to the N-word or whatever, they don't know the history. They don't know the lineage of where this came from. So it was very important. So when my daughter got in it, I was real happy, and I jumped on the bandwagon as a supporter.
And you have a daughter too. How
Correct.
does she feel about the Village Nation?
Well, my daughter, Brooklyn, she was 9 years old when we first got started, and she's been actively involved with the Village Nation, and she is contributing in her own way, even with coming up with ideas and suggestions as exercises and things that we can do that would be that the kids could relate to. So she's been very much involved with it.
And Desirade, you've had first experience being a part of the Village Nation and serving as a youth organizer. What's been your experience?
The first thing that comes to mind to me when I think of the Village Nation is community. It's always great during meetings or when we do Solution in November for Thanksgiving to have a sense of black and brown men and women get together and try to do something positive. So my experience is always to try and bring the best out of my community and see what I could do with my black brothers and sisters to bring awareness to them about, like they said, the N-word or dropout rates or incarceration. So yeah, my biggest goal would be community and like unity within my.
And how long have you been involved with the organization?
4 years. I'm a senior now, so since 9th grade.
And what are some of your responsibilities as a youth organizer?
As a youth organizer, like I said, I just try to, any person that I see at school or any of my friends that I see struggling with classes or with questions about who they are. You know, we have a lot of negativity surrounding us, smog that we breathe in that isn't always positive. So I'm fortunate through the village and through the strategy center that I'm a part of to be one of those aware kids. So when they do have questions, I just try to bring them up to speed on the awareness of what's going on.
Now, one of the most talked about assemblies is the use of the N-word, like you guys have mentioned. Why do you think that's made such an impact, Fluke?
Well, it's prevalent in the African-American community, the use of the N-word, and the kids use it. It's in their music, it's in their language. And so we challenge them with the history of it, with the truth of it. And as they begin to learn and understand where it came from and what it was designed to do, it was designed to take away our humanity as a people. And as their consciousness raises inside themselves, they are compelled not to use the word. And they take it a step further and they start to explain that their new stance on not using the word to their friends and to their peers. And so it surrounds them in everything that they do and all the music that they're in and the people that they're around. And so that's one of the reasons why we decided to address that word. And it's just such a poisonous type of word anyway. And so we've done that, and it's been incredibly successful. And in doing that, we get to show them the whole history of the word. We get to show them all the horrific acts that were performed behind that word. And so to try to take that word now and embrace it really doesn't make a lot of sense once you understand that history.